Yeah, but I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit! For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige bueckers.
No way!
I didn't even say anything bad.
The noise around this issue keeps growing. Frustration has reached a peak, and now something that once seemed unimaginable is being openly debated across social media and fan forums. Supporters of Sophie Cunningham have run out of patience. They're insisting she should no longer be silenced by a league that looks more interested in shaping the storyline than protecting players or allowing genuine conversations about what's happening behind the scenes. That feeling is spreading quickly. Fans are urging Cunningham to keep speaking out, because if the WNBA is really penalizing athletes just for sharing opinions, then there's a serious problem within the league. What we're watching unfold goes beyond the game itself. It's about an organization that appears to have lost touch with the very idea of free expression, even when it comes from its own players.
So, lads, the WNBA have done it. They have done it. They have officially fined Sophie Cunningham every podcast episode. They have fined her because Sophie Cunningham has been fined. I'm not joking. She's been fined for a TikTok. She's been fined now, I think, for the third time for a podcast. I think Sophie Cunningham might be the all-time leader in fines in the WNBA. So let's take a listen.
Sophie Cunningham, now seen by many as the most honest voice in women's basketball, has decided to address the league's ongoing attempts to fine her into silence. Her statements point directly to the flaws in how the WNBA handles its operations. What began as simple, candid remarks on her podcast has turned into a bigger fight over openness, and she's showing no sign of backing down.
Are not protecting their players. Nobody's going to watch this if you're not protecting your star player. You're not protecting your players, period, but particularly your star players. No one's going to watch this. People are watching it because of Caitlin Clark, and then even more because of Sophie Cunningham. And if you're going to just hang them out to dry, then, good. Nobody's going to watch this anymore because they don't protect their players. It's a worthless organization. They have no idea how to protect their players. But, oh man, they're going to bitch and moan. Well, you better pay us the money. For what? You can't even protect your star players that draw the eyeballs. Now nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch to see the star players sitting out with injuries because of poor treatment and poor officiating on the sides. Nobody's going to watch that.
If you're enjoying this, please subscribe. What should have been a routine podcast episode about basketball and everyday experiences became another example of the WNBA trying to control the message. Cunningham launched her show, Show Me Something with Wes Wilson, to share honest discussions about the sport. Instead, she's discovering that speaking openly comes with costly consequences.
She has turned herself into a top 5 most talked about player in the WNBA. And can I tell you, I am loving the clips that are coming out of this podcast. There's just so much fascinating elements of her that make her this really alpha, really strong, but really beautiful, spicy villain. And I think she kind of likes being the villain.
I'm now 3 for 3 on fines from the WNBA, Cunningham admitted on her latest podcast. You could hear the exhaustion in her tone, coming from someone who feels the league prefers control over honesty. They didn't like what I said about Paige Bueckers, and it wasn't even negative. But this time she drew a line. She refused to let financial penalties stop her. Each new episode has brought another fine, raising questions about whether it's even possible to have real dialogue in the WNBA without being punished.
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit! For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige bueckers.
No way!
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the whistle, on the quick whistle.
Yeah, but why?
If we want to talk about Paige, here's a good question.
They fined her for saying Paige bueckers has a good whistle. I kid you not, that is one of the craziest reasons I've seen a player get fined.
Then something unusual happened. After Cunningham exposed the fine system, fans quickly rallied around her, not just as an athlete, but as someone brave enough to speak plainly regardless of the risk. Online platforms filled with praise, labeling her the truth teller, and demanding the league stop silencing her. When she finally spoke directly about the repeated fines, her words cut through the usual careful language that often surrounds these debates.
Something seriously wrong with how the W enforces their rules. And I know there's already been a big emphasis on referee inconsistencies, but at the end of the day, the quality of referees is on the WNBA too. Because again, I have no idea where the line is. Because on one hand, I kind of get it. It's normal for a league to fine you if you're going to talk bad about the league or the players in the league. Because that happens all the time in the NBA, NFL, and so on. But on the other hand, why does the league not care about its image when players are standing over and cursing out their opponents on the court? Like, where was the enforcement here? Or where was it here? Or where was it when the whole entire league was bullying your star player? And this stuff is happening all the time in the WNBA, but why is it only called on occasion? Which is why finding Sophie Cunningham every time she has a podcast seems kind of crazy, because the WNBA obviously chooses when and when not to enforce the rule.
Here's why Cunningham's case is so troubling. She isn't being fined for lies or offensive remarks. She's being penalized for straightforward comments about officiating and league decisions, things any ordinary fan might notice. The WNBA has effectively created a situation where even respectful, accurate commentary is treated as a punishable act. The record is clear. She was fined $500 for a TikTok that simply lip-synced lyrics while referencing referees. Another $1,500 fine came after she discussed officiating consistency on her very first podcast. And most recently, she was fined again for suggesting that Dallas Wings rookie Paige bueckers seemed to benefit from favorable calls.
When you get fined, do they put like verbatim, like quote here, like this is why you're being fined and that's why it's this much? Or is it like, hey, quit talking shit on us, Venmo us like $1,500?
What happens is they email our GM, and she pulls me aside and she goes, "Come here, Soph, I have to talk to you." And this was in like front of everybody. And I was like, "What did I do now?" And she just smiled and she goes, "Hey, they're going to fine you again." They're like, I was like, I even told them, I even credited them that their job was hard. I did say that. And I said that I would not be good at it. I did say that. Like, look at the whole picture. What are we doing?
Let's be clear. This isn't really about league professionalism. It's about image management. The WNBA has become so focused on protecting how it looks that it's willing to penalize its players for saying things fans already notice during games. Instead of addressing Cunningham's genuine concerns about refereeing, expansion, and league operations, the league's chosen path has been financial punishment. Even analyst Rebecca Lobo has publicly admitted officiating is inconsistent. Yet when Cunningham, an active player, points it out, she's fined almost immediately. The bigger issue this reveals is a culture where athletes are afraid to speak openly about their own league.
Cunningham tweeted about getting fined, basically saying that she thinks it's laughable and that the league probably has bigger issues they should be focusing on. Now, WNBA officiating has faced major scrutiny all season long from some of the league's biggest stars and coaches. You can find a ton of articles about it online where they're all calling for more consistency. One of the more quotable examples came from Angel Reese after the Chicago Sky lost to the Minnesota Lynx on July 6th. Reese said that the officiating has to be fixed. She said, "I don't give a you-know-what if I get fined because that stuff is cheap and I'm tired of this stuff." You get the point. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert addressed the officiating ahead of the All-Star game last weekend. She said that it is something that the league is continuing to work on and that they are on it. Engelbert mentioned that
Cunningham's decision to keep speaking despite the costs has exposed the WNBA's system for what it is. Designed to discourage dissent rather than fix problems. Fine me $500, fine me again tomorrow. It's not going to change anything, she said on her show. She knows exactly what the league is attempting, pressuring her into silence. But this isn't accidental controversy. It's a conscious choice by Cunningham to value truth over financial security. Fans understand this too. Social platforms have been filled with posts like, "This league is broken. Sophie, don't stop exposing it." They're not only backing her, they're beginning to lose trust in the league itself.
She'll happily pay those fines. I think they're only fining like $200 or something. It's something crazy. Like Sophie Cunningham is making millions this year. Players don't get fined for speaking on one another, but every single player in the history of pro basketball has criticized officiating and fined for it. No, she keeps doing the same thing, getting fined for it. She literally said Paige is a good whistle. That is what she said. She said Paige, the Paige fans, my God, Paige fans are fucking nut jobs.
From a business perspective, the WNBA's strategy looks short-sighted. Cunningham is one of the most charismatic figures in women's basketball. She has a strong social following, and her podcast gives fans authentic, behind-the-scenes access. This is the type of natural publicity most leagues would welcome. Instead, the WNBA has treated her as a problem to manage. Contrast this with the NBA, where criticism of referees does sometimes draw fines. But those penalties are scaled to salaries and reserved for genuinely harsh remarks. In the WNBA, even mild observations can cost players thousands. And the ripple effect is serious. Other athletes with similar concerns are keeping quiet because they've seen the consequences of speaking up.
She literally, when I tell you, y'all, I literally feel like they are just coming for her because I feel like she should be able to say what she wants to say on her podcast. But that's just me. That's just how I feel. Then they came and then it came an earlier $500 penalty. I guess for a TikTok video, she was mocking the referees and lip singing. That was funny. So now I got a question for y'all. Do you think that she should be able to say what she wants on her own podcast? Or do you feel like, she should just shut it down and, stop bothering them with all this?
The truth is, fans now have more ways than ever to connect with players directly, thanks to podcasts and social media. Cunningham's followers have shown they'll stick with her for honest insight. The real question is whether the WNBA can withstand the image damage it's creating by trying to mute its most authentic voice. Cunningham has proven she's willing to take the hit for honesty, but the fact she needs to says everything. When fans celebrate an athlete more for speaking the truth than for her game performance, it shows something is deeply broken within the system.
Of traction that episode was getting, folks were saying that she could pay that off just from her YouTube monetization. And so this is just interesting because I've said before that I really wish the WNBA as well as other sports leagues would lean in to the athlete-owned media platforms because fans are a lot more interested in hearing the perspective of people who actually play the sport than just spectators and people on the outside. So the fact that they are penalizing her for showcasing her frustrations, even though tons of players have done this, post-game interviews or just talked about it on the internet in general, is very interesting.
The WNBA has turned a golden opportunity into a missed one. Sophie Cunningham's Show Me Something podcast should have been the kind of player-driven content that strengthens fan loyalty. Instead, the league has treated it like a threat. With every fine, the league looks more disconnected from its own audience. What this shows more than anything is how unprepared the WNBA is to handle genuine voices. They have a wealth of authentic stories from players themselves, yet their instinct has been to discourage rather than promote them.
The entire league can talk shit about Caitlin, but Sophie can't. Talk shit to Paige. No. And that's the funniest thing is that Angel Reese can say some people have a special whistle about Caitlin Clark in a public press conference. And it's selective fining. That's the problem. Like Kelsey Plum has not been fined this year, and Kelsey Plum has literally just stopped entire press conferences to complain about the referees. Apparently Stephanie White didn't get fined when Marina Mabrey knocked Caitlin on her ass. And then Sophie Cunningham took down JC Sheldon. Apparently Stephanie White didn't get, and Mazian did not get fined for both of them going mad at the referee.
Despite all this, Cunningham has remained calm and thoughtful. She continues to speak with clarity, even as the fines pile up. But realistically, no one should have to absorb constant financial penalties simply for sharing what they see and experience. The situation is obvious to fans, reporters, and even other players, except it seems to WNBA leadership. Cunningham has given the league's followers something they didn't know they were missing. A player willing to be completely candid, even at a personal cost. But no single person can fix a culture where honesty is treated as a weakness instead of a strength.
Is going to push her even more to share her perspectives and share her point of view. And that's going to get her some partnerships. That's going to get her business opportunities because, again, nobody really knows what these players go through unless you're in their position. Unless you're in that position. For those who don't know, she plays for the Indiana Fever. But I love that she is voicing her concerns. I think the only way for change to happen is for you to vocalize what needs to be changed and to have it at the forefront. And she just may be the person to help further push these types of conversations ahead. So listen, let's all support Sophia, watch the first episode. And I'm excited to see what else she's talking about because
the unfortunate irony is clear. In Sophie Cunningham's podcast, the WNBA had everything: an authentic player perspective, content that drives engagement, and conversations fans genuinely care about. Instead of seeing this as an asset, they've chosen to treat it as a risk. Her treatment is no longer just about a few fines. It's about whether the league wants to encourage authentic voices or silence them. And with each decision, fans are recognizing exactly which choice the WNBA has made.